Dana Perino, along with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Geraldo Rivera, Jesse Waters, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five.
Great.
Did Steve Bannon betray President Trump? The president wouldn't answer that question at the White House earlier, but he did offer these words about his former aide, now persona non grata.
Did Steve Bannon betray you, Mr. President? Thank you very much. I don't know, he called me a great man last night, so, you know, he obviously changed his tune pretty quick. All right, thank you all very much. Thank you. I don't talk to him. I don't talk to him. Thank you.
Despite yesterday's public lashing from his former boss, Bannon had only nice words to say about Mr. Trump last night.
The President of the United States is a great man. You know, I support him day in and day out, whether going through the country, giving the Trump miracle speech or on the show or on the website. So I don't think you have to worry about that. But I appreciate the kind words.
The ex-chief strategist now faces the threat of legal action from the president's lawyers over, quote, disparaging statements and violating an agreement not to disclose confidential information. He's been sent a cease and desist letter to avoid any further disclosures. So has author Michael Wolff, who published Bannon's quotes in a new book about the Trump White House. The president is trying to stop the book from being released, but it's now due out tomorrow, 4 days early. So, Geraldo, I thought I would start with you on the legal front, or Kimberly, you take it either way, that at this point, the book is coming out. I mean, there's really nothing you can do legally, right?
Well, you could do a cease and desist letter. I am opposed to them. They show a kind of a panic. They bring more attention than, they are ineffective. There's a First Amendment in this country. They have the right to publish and then be sued. It's obvious that there are plenty of problems with the book, as seen through the eyes of the Trump administration. But to try to stop it ahead of time does nothing other than to drive sales, and it looks frightened. Charles Harder, the attorney that they have hired, is a real formidable attorney. He's the guy that crushed Gawker.com on behalf of Hulk Hogan, you remember. So I think that, that's real, but why draw even more attention? It's really, look at this fire. It's the kind of thing you don't want to do. So and look, all it's done is accelerate the publication date.
Yeah, I think, Kimberly, I was saying earlier today that when you are dealing with a book PR situation, if it's negative for your principal, there's two ways to deal with it. Either try to ignore it and starve it of attention, or try to counter punch. And the president's statement was really strong yesterday, and then Sarah Sanders had this to say earlier.
Hi.
But that's not Sarah Sanders.
I'm not going to waste my time or the country's time going page by page talking about a book that's complete fantasy and just full of tabloid gossip, because it's sad, pathetic. There are probably more than 30 requests for access to information from Michael Wolff that were repeatedly denied. He never discussed this book with the president. He was repeatedly denied that, I think because we saw him for what he was, and there was no reason for us to waste the President of the United States' time.
So Sarah Sanders, Kimberly, is having to clean up a mess that she didn't start, which is inviting Michael Wolff into the White House in the first place.
Yes, well, I mean, it's a problem, but I don't... Look, they decided somehow, some way that they were going to give him access, and he has had access to very high-profile people, like the chairman, owner of this company and the former chairman. Mm-hmm. And so he's actually had the ability to get these kind of interviews and get unfettered access. I think, early on in administration, anyway, probably not a very good idea. It's ill-advised, because you're not going to let somebody be exposed to the shop the first day it opens. Like restaurants, they open up. It's like a lot of things that could be kind of going on.
Yeah, wait till year 7.
Yeah. Wait till it's a little baked in a bit and you've got a few Zagat reviews. But besides that, so then you let him in and he's like, hey, so he's listening, right? He's paying attention to everything. He's quite conversational. He's talking to everyone. And what you think he may hear or not hear, he's picking up more than you think. You saw that by some of the Sean Spicer stuff where he's listening and absorbing the environment. That's what he does. So in a situation like this, it's vulnerable for a presidency, for an administration to put themselves, at risk. For someone like this that is obviously going to, that it's a good writer that's going to write all this stuff out. And obviously there's a lot of, contention in terms of the accuracy of it. But he says he has tapes as well. The publisher's doubling double. Let's be honest. They're trying to sell books. So because of all the, the hype, all of the news coverage that you've seen on absolutely every network about this, they want to capitalize it in a free market society, be able to get the sales out.
Yeah, that's the other thing, Greg, is that the PR nightmare that a White House might be going through through on this, like, it will end. It'll be like 2 or 3 more days of a news cycle. Probably go through the Sunday shows, and then I think they'll be on to another topic.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of the Trump presidency. There's always something coming over the horizon that blows your mind. You go, this is the end of the world. No, hold my beer, as people like to say.
He needs to do a Mika tweet immediately.
Yes, exactly. But I have to agree with Kimberly 100% on everything she said.
Smart man.
Wow.
Because I'm scared to death of her. No.
Most men are.
So it's news that it's chaos and dysfunctional when non-politicians actually move into a political realm. Isn't that what this is all about?
Yeah.
This guy is there witnessing the cronies out and essentially you in. Right. These are people that have not governed, who are just like the people who kind of voted. You could say, yeah, he's a billionaire, but he's kind of like your uncle. So your uncle just became president. I challenge that each one of us, if we became president, would have had a similar, maybe except for Dana, because she'd been there before, but we would have had a similar experience. And so I think the book's message, because I think you made a good point about the writer, too. This is not about a perfect White House. It's about a human White House. Right. These are not beautiful people from Davos or Aspen or Harvard. These are people who can barely shave. Well, if you look, Bannon shaves half his face. These are people ignorant of politics, but savvy of the street. You put street fighters in there from Queens and elsewhere, and the Democrats have to be consistent about this because they nominated a neophyte over Hillary Clinton. Remember? They did it first with Obama, and they won. So this was just the pendulum. Lastly, you said that Wolf is a good writer. He is a good writer. The reporting is strange to me in that it feels like he's forcing observations and conclusions to fulfill the good story writing that he made. He has a great story. He writes in an active voice. But the reporting is in the passive. It's as almost things are happening without a reason. And I think that's weird. So part of me says, yeah, a lot of this could happen, but it's like he's shoveling it into a way that that fits a story.
Maggie Haberman of the New York Times said it was a thin read, well written, but could have used a copy edit.
Yeah, you know what that is, though. That's right. Intense rivalry. That's her going, oh, I wish I had that book.
But maybe what Greg's saying, Jesse, is that this is actually a team of rivals.
Directly to the president.
It's like the Five came into the White House, and there was an author there documenting everything.
You're right, though.
All of a sudden, a year later, it's like, yes, Kimberly was on the phone half the time. Gutfeld was complaining about his apartment. Jesse was a total jerk. Yeah, Juan was late. Where's
Geraldo lost his shirt.
Exactly. And Dana's,
I was tapping my foot and being annoyed.
Dana was judging everybody by her eyes. This is exactly how it would be. Yeah.
So it'd be a true story?
Right. So,
wait a second.
Keep going, Jesse.
Wait, I'm having an emotional lapse right now.
But it's half true, half false, because they also say Trump didn't know Boehner, and then they came out with pictures of Trump playing golf with Boehner. So you don't know what to believe, but the bottom line is that Bannon betrayed the family. What's the quote from The Godfather? Never go against the family. He went after Jared, and he went after Don Jr.
That for months.
But he'd been leaking. This was a direct quote.
He was on the record.
I don't know if he was on the record as pretty strongly as this.
When he was at in Alabama for the Roy Moore event on stage on live television, he was basically making fun of Ivanka for saying that there's a special place in hell for people like that are accused of things that.
Yeah, that was a strong assault on the first daughter. This is even worse. And with the Don Jr. thing, and then Jared.
Yeah, but Jesse,
that was a vicious attack.
Not from day one. This was not any kind of kumbaya love situation between Steve Bannon, between Ivanka, Jared, Don Jr., Gary Cohen, Dina.
So maybe is that the team of rivals concept then that could work for a president?
Well,
I think it's more like Dallas.
Yeah, but when it comes to the family,
don't you agree with me?
This whole notion, though, where they make an observation as damning as the fact that they want to invoke the 25th Amendment, that the president is having these memory and emotional lapses and he's not himself. This is such bunk.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to say. But this is quoting people who spend no time with the president. I didn't spend any time with him over the Christmas holidays, but we were together for an hour coming back on Air Force One from Puerto Rico. And it was just the two of us, and we were rapping. I've known him for 40 years. We did the Celebrity Apprentice together, specifically 6 weeks together every day. He's as sharp as ever. He is as relaxed as ever. In terms of his physical prowess, he can outrun me easily. And I think that to damn him in that way with a charge that is that vague and yet that incendiary, I think it's very, very unfair.
Trump is a fast runner.
That's what I keep thinking about. Geraldo's saying he can outrun you. I mean,
not saying much. But he's a huge
can
guy.
he outbox you?
I don't know about that. He can outspend me.
they can
But
do
he
a
is a good athlete.
Both should
He
do a
is a good
shirt
athlete.
off. You should both do a shirt off.
Listen, by the way, people can say whatever they want. Bottom line is the president is very hardworking. He campaigned as hard as anybody that ran for the office of presidency. He had no lack of any kind of like fatigue in the situation. He was 100% all in, trying to win and get after it way more than Hillary Clinton. Let's be honest. She was happy to collect dollars, and he was out there trying to collect votes. Okay, making all the stops. And even if it was 1 a.m, he would show up there like Michigan and make sure that he made all those rallies. And he talked to every reporter every time we were at one of those conventions or debates, et cetera. He was out there the whole time doing the press gaggle, talking to everybody. And so if they try and take that away from them, just, say what you want about maybe something that might be accurate criticism, but don't go and misrepresent and lie about the man's ability and his stamina and getting stuff done. He wanted to win. Right. There isn't a day in his life that he doesn't wake up and say, I want to crush it. I want to make the other guy cry for his mom.
And I want a cheeseburger in bed.
And me too. That's how I feel. That's right, Greg.
Well, you know what the thing is? Some of these things could be true. I mean, he could eat cheeseburgers in bed. I mean, that's a problem.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? I mean, that's how I want to go, America. But
keep that in your own bed.
Yeah, but if you look, let's say you look at some of the things and you think, some of these could be true, temperamental, impulsive, whatever you think. I want to quote this guy, is a philosopher, Gad Saad. He said, if a candidate or if a person connects with you on one big thing, big thing, then all the little things become little and they become acceptable. And it was something with me. I had a lot of problems with a lot of things, especially mainly about behavior and things that we've talked about the 5. But the big thing, which was the message over national and domestic security, the fact that he nailed that down and has since followed through with that makes me accept the fact that, he might say something that kind of like goes, oh, I can't believe he said that. But the fact is, if you get the big thing right, the little things don't matter.
Yeah, but you're saying give credit for the accomplishments and what's actually
economy,
occurred.
for goodness sakes.
Look at the economy today with the Dow. 25,000, right? But people don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about, well, is there, does he eat a cheeseburger? I mean, God, I hope so. I mean, cheeseburgers obviously do amazing things for your body.
All right, reports of a new